I'm feeling a little nostalgic today. Does anyone remember this? Rail safety is one of those issues that never goes away. It should be pretty obvious that you shouldn't mess around with trains, and it has been ever since the MP, William Huskisson, was run over by Stephenson's rocket. There have been plenty of attempts to convey the message over the years, from picture books aimed at young children to some frankly traumatizing public information films. But this is the one we got when I was at school. Now, I'm sure I don't need to tell you who Roald Dahl was, but on the off chance that you don't know, he was an author who is most famous for his children's books. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the BFG, The Witches, Matilda, Revolting Rhymes, James and the Giant Peach, The Twits. It's just banger after banger. He also wrote some pretty fun and often macabre stories for adults. The Man from the South and Lamb to the Slaughter are two that people keep bringing up. He was a screenwriter too. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and You Only Live Twice are his, based on books by his fellow intelligence officer Ian Fleming. Oh yes, during the Second World War, Dahl was a fighter pilot and subsequently an intelligence officer. So, quite a remarkable chap. It's fair to say that he has had his controversies, but in my defence, these were something I was not aware of at the age of 7. I absolutely devoured his books when I was a kid. I've also been involved in a couple of stage productions based on his work. I played the evil giant, the Flesh Lump Eater, in the BFG. I played him with a voice that sounded like this, which was fun, if a bit rough on the old vocal cords. And with my friend Alex, I co-directed a production of The Witches. I also did the poster artwork for both of these productions. There was about 14 years between the productions. I hope my style has improved over that time. Roald Dahl's books are very entertaining and still very popular, and to be honest, I think, on the whole, they hold up pretty well. I think what I would say was the key to Dahl's success was that he didn't really follow the rules of children's literature. They felt like the sort of books that adults wouldn't approve of. They were full of made-up words and fantastical invention, and often pretty grotesque scenes and concepts. Dahl never felt the need to anchor himself too strongly in reality, if it would make for a better story not to. This was his last children's book. It was published in 1991, the year after he passed away. It's illustrated by Quentin Blake. Now, Blake has the same kind of manic energy as Dahl. He's generally agreed to be the definitive illustrator. I mean, I had editions of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator that weren't illustrated by him, and I forget who the illustrators actually were, but they just weren't unhinged enough. And I would say this is Blake's book as much as it's Dahl's. The message on a page may be quite simple, but you can always rely on Blake to give it a memorable visualization. I love this dog here, he is just so angry. Some of the illustrations are even a little macabre. There's one about not sticking your head out of the window that I'm not even sure I can show here, but it is pretty funny, take my word for it. There's also this illustration of a sort of parallel universe Miss Trunchbull, which is nothing really to do with rail safety. I just thought it was interesting. All that being said, there is some vintage Dahl in there. The introduction includes some insights into his writing process, which I definitely think is worth looking at if you're a fan, or if you're interested in writing for children yourself. And he spends a couple of pages talking about how much he loves trains and train travel, which I am absolutely fine with. He maintains this sort of anecdotal, conversational style throughout, which is very familiar if you know his other works. It removes any sense of being lectured to. As the introduction points out, when you're a kid you get lectured to all the time, and to be honest, you're rather disinclined to listen after a while. From a train nerd perspective, the book is quite of its time. I mean, I definitely got the impression that Quentin Blake lived in the Network Southeast region, judging by the colours of the trains. Network Southeast first appeared in 1986 and lasted up until the end of British Rail. This is also an era of slam door trains. I don't think there's anywhere on the national network where it's possible to open the doors before the train has stopped these days. I mean, on a lot of trains you can't even open the window. Although it is possible on heritage railways, so there's that, I suppose. Now this here is unmistakably a Class 442, better known to rail fans as Wessex Electrics. When I was a kid, these were the new trains. Now they've all been scrapped, which frankly makes me feel old. Sic transit gloria mundi, I suppose. Sic transit gloria mundi on a Wessex Electric, perhaps. The rest of the trains tend to be fairly abstract. But then, so do the people, so it's fine. I don't know how useful the advice to find a porter would be. Again, I don't think there are any porters on the national network these days. I guess you just say station staff now. But that's not to say it's irrelevant or totally dated. To be honest, I think Roald Dahl and Quentin Blake's uncompromising style is really good at presenting the danger. There is no sugarcoating it. Among the funny illustrations and anecdotes, they straight up say that messing around with trains can get you killed. No euphemisms, no dancing around it. This is not a book that would use the term unalive. I see it as a sign of respect for the audience. Dahl does put a lengthy apology at the beginning of the book explaining how he hates being one of those grown-ups that tells you what to do, but the information in the booklet is important. Fair enough. How effective was it? Well, when we were kids, we were very pleased to receive it because it was a free Roald Dahl book that we'd never read. I certainly remember the figure of 1.5 miles stopping distance for a 125-mile-per-hour train because I read it in this book. Actually, I experienced the lengthy stopping distance of a train myself when GB Rail Freight let me use their simulator last year. Even with brakes full on, the Class 66 diesel I was driving, or pretending to drive, took forever to come to a halt, and it wasn't even going that fast. R.I.P. those little virtual people I hit. Roald Dahl's Guide to Railway Safety was his only book to be published by the British Railway Board, and was commissioned by them, no doubt on the basis that kids would listen to him. Original editions seem to go for around £20 to £40 online. I picked up my copy for a £5 from the Roald Dahl Museum, ordered online. I wouldn't say it's an absolute must, but it's an interesting curiosity, both in terms of Dahl's literary output and in terms of railway publicity material. It's also, quite possibly, the last thing he ever wrote, so it does occupy an important place in his career in that sense. And I still think it has a lot of useful information for kids, conveyed in a way that doesn't talk down to them, and I think that's a valuable thing. Well, I do hope you enjoyed today's video. It was a bit of an impulsive thing for me. I was reading about something else entirely, and I just thought, hey, I remember that Roald Dahl safety thing, I wonder if you can still get that. And now you're watching the video that came out of that, so there you go. Anyway, if you did enjoy it, please do leave a like and consider subscribing for more on railway topics and whatever else I feel like talking about. Maybe I should cover some other rail safety books and videos, that might be fun. Some of those scary public information films, perhaps. I would like to thank my donors on Ko-fi, on Patreon, and here on YouTube for your generous contributions. You are the Quentin Blake illustration to my Roald Dahl prose. And I will see you all again very soon. Cheerio.